It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. This is the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you doing?
Great.
Charming as ever.
Mm-hmm.
Rounded up.
Okay.
All hot.
Day late and a dollar short.
Hope everybody out there is doing all right. And what's going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh,
good.
Yeah, that's how it started last week, too.
What's been going on in my little cesspool?
Oh, Lord.
Don't really have a lot.
That's also what she said last week.
Right? I said that last week.
Famous last words.
I did throw this out on Discord today, but this weekend I watched a show called Clickbait, and it's on Netflix. And I can't really explain a lot of it, but the premise is there's this guy that's been kidnapped, and he, if he gets 5 million views on this video, they're going to kill him. So this whole story, you're trying to figure out why and who, and 8 episodes, and I can guarantee you by the 8th episode, you will not have a clue on what the fuck, who the fuck. I was totally surprised. You think you know, and once you think you've got it all figured out, they're like, but wait. And then they show you the story through another perspective, and you're like, oh yeah, they did it, you know. And they're like, but wait, there's more. So it's one of those that it's really, it's good because it's not the kind of twist where you don't know nothing of what's going on at all. I mean, you feel that way after you've watched the whole thing. You're like, wow, I feel like a clown for thinking it was this person or this person. But it was so well done that it kept you guessing and guessing and guessing. When I first started watching it, Phil doesn't really get into that kind of stuff, and he was in and out, and he kept watching, little parts of it. And finally he was getting ready to go back outside again, and he was like, I'm going to leave, and I was like, oh, so now you want me to pause it and I have to wait. So,
wow. How cruel.
Right. Well, it was engaging enough to get him interested in what the hell's going on here, because so much stuff just keeps coming and coming up, and it's like, wow, who the hell is this guy? So if you're looking for something, like I said, it's the kind of thing where you just want to binge it because you have to know, for one, if you're right, and if not, then who else could it be? And it just kind of ends with a boom. So, short series, pretty good, less than 8 hours. So if you've got it, you'll definitely want to watch it all at once. That's on Netflix.
It's the Finite series.
Yes.
Okay.
If they did another one of these, they would definitely, it would be a totally different story with a different cast. It's that kind of story. So it's one complete story busted into 8.
Okay.
But I thought it was really good. And I know a lot of people don't look at this kind of stuff, but I was noticing since they're telling you this in 8 different parts, some of it is the same story, but maybe from a different perspective. And it was really cool the way the camera caught all of this, because you could definitely, it's the same scene you're watching, but you could definitely get that feel of which perspective now you were supposed to see this from. So it was just probably one of the best Netflix series I've seen in a while. So just really well done. The actors, the only person who really got on my nerves was Pia, and she's the guy's sister. And going through everything, when she find out what all's going on and what's involved, I'd probably be a little annoying too. So,
no, not you.
But it's that kind of, not that she can't act, but she's just an annoying character. She's kind of, in real life, when you have a situation like this, she would be the person who's constantly in control with the cops trying to stay on, find my brother. So you kind of have to be annoying to get people to listen to you. So, but yeah, it was really good. So it was definitely 2 thumbs up. It does involve kidnapping and that kind of thing, but I really wouldn't say this was like a horror show. And I would say probably straight out of Black Mirror, if you guys have watched any of that. It's one of those kind of stories that after it's all said and done, you're like, oh, I learned something from this. Oh boy, did I learn something from this, So.
Do we need to worry about Phil based on what you learned from this?
No.
Okay, good.
That's because all the true crime I watch, but not this show. But yeah, it was kind of, like I said, it's definitely one of those that you're like, what? It's not them. Oh my God. And the person I thought it was from the very beginning, I don't know. I'll give it time to be out a little bit more before I spoil things on that end though. But yeah, he said it's pretty good. I think Netflix should be advertising this a little bit better because it's definitely one of their better shows. But I think I saw it because it was either trending on Twitter or it was trending on Netflix in their top 10 or whatever it is. One of the two. So it's starting to gain speed. But no, other than that, I'm still getting caught up on Buffy. I've hit season 4 where she's in college now, and it's kind of like I'm hoping I can get over this hump because I don't know. To me, the college scenes are a little less impressive than the high school. So I don't know.
Don't worry, she's not in college that long.
Okay. I was gonna say,
remember correctly.
I'll give it a few more episodes. Yeah, that's all I got.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Sounds like an interesting show, though.
It is pretty cool.
What, Buffy?
Oh, totally. I am familiar with Buffy. I am not familiar with clickbait.
No.
Would be that's actually the kind of name of a show that I would actually be hesitant to click on.
You give it clickbait?
Uh-huh. Not just because of that, but I don't know.
The thing that kind of surprised me, if you knew there was a video out there of someone being held hostage and your view was going to account to the number for them to die, would you watch the video?
No, I would not.
That's the part that I found so...
But I'm weird.
But then you're like, there's people who stop at, almost everybody looks when there's a car accident. Everybody wants to see what's going on. So that's kind of what he got caught up in, was kind of how bad social media can be. So...
Yeah, I was about to say, Mikey, you're kind of the odd one. I think everybody else would still, and I don't mean necessarily Liz or Les or myself, but generally most people would still watch the video because of morbid curiosity.
They'd want to see why.
They would want to know the story. They would want to see it, and Yeah, I mean,
because one of the signs he held up said, "I abuse women," and then another one that he held up said, "I killed a woman," and then the third sign was, "At 5 million views, I'll die." So I could kind of see people like, well, he's a murderer and, that kind of thing to see. But at the end of the day, I think it boils down to a lot of people don't understand it's real lives on the other side of a computer screen. It doesn't stop at your computer screen. This is someone's real life and their real family who was dealing with this,
The detachment.
Yep. Well, I'm just one view out of 5 million,
Yeah, but is this the real life? Or is this just fantasy?
Yeah, this was fantasy. This was...
Caught in a landslide.
Yeah, I'm
No escape from reality.
Yes.
I don't think it was taken from heaven.
We're quoting a song, Liz.
Okay.
New kids. Jeez.
God, open your eyes. Look up at the skies and see.
And that fits perfectly.
Doesn't it, though? I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy.
Easy goes.
There we go. Not sure how much further I could go with that. Probably a lot further than I think, but that's beside the point.
Why would you bring a Bobby Sherman song?
Hey, I could have brought an Alan Sherman song in. Hello, Mutta. Hello, Fada. I'm not going to do the Shatner version of that. That's for damn sure. Okay, so I did stuff too. I actually, oddly enough, was on Netflix also. I stumbled across a documentary series that might be a little bit outside of my regular comfort zone, but not really, because it's about music. But it's called This Is Pop.
Hey, Pop.
Hey.
Nice to meet you, Pop. But yeah, I mean so it's 8 episodes. They are roughly 45 minutes apiece or so on average, and they are about bands and or ideas or concepts that I never really paid that much attention to because I'm never really into pop music. So I thought it would be interesting to maybe learn something here. And I watched the first one, which is about Boyz II Men. And it was actually a lot more interesting a story than I would have thought, mainly because I wasn't aware of how influential Boyz II Men was in its time frame, in its time when they happened, when they occurred, like the early 90s. There were a whole lot of clones of Boyz II Men. I just didn't realize they were all clones of Boyz II Men, to be honest. As they explained it, it became really clear that it was a lot of the boy band stuff was pretty much ripped off from those guys. And they did some really kind of some amazing things in their, I don't want to say few years of popularity because honestly they're still around, but
yeah,
they've been in Vegas for a little while. So that is an interesting story, and the other episodes wander off into different aspects of pop music. So I'm looking forward to diving into some more of these things. It's going to be interesting.
I hadn't thought about them being that influential, but now that you mention it, yeah, because there really wasn't that kind of a group until that time, and then like you said,
right. That type of group hadn't been popular in a couple of decades, really.
Right.
Until these guys came along and did some really impressive stuff, really.
Yeah.
During the time that they was real popular, that totally wasn't my genre of music.
Mine either.
But I knew who they were.
Yeah.
They just kind of seemed to have been able to blend through all of the genres because of the unique sound they did have, you know?
And that was a big part of kind of what they did that was different, was they crossed over quite a bit.
Yeah.
And right from the beginning, too. It wasn't like anybody had to work at it to make that happen. It just, boom, it was just there. And nobody had done that in decades. So.
And when they came together, oh my God, it was beautiful. That's pretty interesting. I'll have to look that one up.
Yep. And like I said, that's just the first episode. There's lots of other cool stuff. There's one about Swedish pop. There's one about British pop. All kinds of cool stuff. So it'll be interesting to learn some things out of this thing.
Yep. That is pretty neat.
That is.
Yeah, I do like the sound of that too.
And it's funny how people can throw around the word influential. I remember seeing a discussion on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. There was a discussion, and I admit bias, so I'm going to say that up front. But they were saying which band was more influential, Outkast or the Beatles. And I was surprised how many people said the Beatles were overrated.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going, we're still feeling the effects of the Beatles now. And the band has disbanded 51 years ago.
Yep. Well, and most good musicians that you talk to and about their influences, almost all of them will throw in a Beatles song or two. I mean, they've definitely put a big, huge footprint on the music scene.
I don't know if it's a generational thing, is it, but it's like, in terms of songwriting, what they did in the studio to put together, to craft songs, musicianship, singing, all that. I mean, they weren't gods, but they were pretty damn influential.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were part of the craze during that period of time. Teens were split into two groups. You were either for the Beatles or for the Monkees.
No.
Really?
No.
No.
Beatles or Stones.
Or Herman and the Hermits.
No.
Was it just my mom?
Yeah. It could have been just your mom.
Yeah.
To me, it would be interesting to see what age group, for one, that they were discussing this with, and two, how many were idiots. Because sorry, the Beatles are more impressive than most anybody in the music business now. What's the most recorded song? Michelle. Who did that? The Beatles. Start with that.
I was going to say Yesterday, but it could be Michelle. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's still a Beatles song. But yeah, I don't know. I saw the original tweet.
Good question.
Isn't that the group did Hey Yeah, or is that them? Hey Yeah. Is that them? I don't know.
Yeah, Andre 3000.
Okay, I know that song. That's it. But
You're one ahead of me.
And that's a nice catchy song. I don't really know that much of their work, so I mean I will admit that as well. But it's just like I looked at this and I started seeing responses, and most of them were in favor of Outkast and saying that the Beatles were overrated. And I'm just like, okay, you really don't know what the hell you're talking about. And if you don't like their music, that's fine. But think of, there's more to it than just the songs.
But do you remember the year that Paul McCartney played with, is it Kanye West? And everybody was like, oh, I don't know who that old dude was, but he just got his music career made tonight. And it was like, you stupid butzes. I mean, Jesus Christ. He had his music career made before Kanye was even piddling in diapers, He didn't need his help for fame, But I thought that was crazy that a lot of them don't know who they are,
See,
They've heard the music, but
y'all are making that cardinal mistake again. Y'all are reading shit on the internet.
yeah,
You should know better than that by now.
true.
Never mind that our podcast is on the internet. But you should keep listening to that, folks. But the rest of it is shit.
Well, they're not reading it.
Yeah,
They're
I was totally listening to it. Yeah, it's a podcast. It must be true.
Follow that up, Les.
Good night, everybody.
He's gonna go listen to an Outkast album now.
I'm going to go buy one right now.
Mm-hmm. On the internet, no less.
His new ringtone.
We're not making it easy, are we?
I watched a documentary that I thought for sure Liz would talk about. But I did watch the documentary about our famous painter. And
Ross.
That was just really good stuff. Bob Ross was phenomenal documentary because there were a lot of people that did not want to come forward to speak. In fact, they had a number of like 12 to 15 people that decided not to speak.
Wow.
They had said, we'll do it. And then they said, no, we're not going to do it because the two people involved with the fall of Bob Ross would sue them.
Mm-hmm. Did you read the statement they put out after this was aired? It wasn't, oh, you guys painted us in the wrong light. It was, well, I'm pretty much sad that family doesn't know how business works.
Right.
So it was like, wow.
Yeah.
You are assholes. Take a happy little tree and stick it up your ass.
Wow. This is turning dark fast.
Well, it was dark itself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah.
And that was the sad part.
Mm-hmm.
I've been scared to watch that one.
It's on
I
my
mean,
list.
he's portrayed okay, though, right? I mean,
Yes.
I'm not going to watch my hero fall, right?
No, not for the most part, no.
Okay. Just the people behind my hero.
Yes, they had his son, they had his wife and his ex-wife and all sorts of people on this broadcast, and it's just sad that there are some people that are so powerful
Yeah.
that you make other people run away. They don't want to talk because they know they'll get their butts handed to them.
Yeah. They don't have enough money to talk.
That's true.
Yeah, I actually tuned in to Twitch this weekend, especially when the marathon started up, because I wanted to see the responses in the chat, and the mods had their hands full because there was a lot of people talking about this documentary, people saying, you know what, I'm unsubscribing, I'm unfollowing, I'm not giving these people any more money. And these mods were going, well, I kind of know the situation. It's not really what the documentary showed and all that. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. What I think it's true. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I can believe it. And it's just, and then there was others just saying, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to hear all of this. I came here because I use Bob to kind of relax because I'm stressed. I have anxiety and stress and all that, and just watching him paint and talk and all that helps him calm down. So I don't want to deal with this. So it was really kind of interesting, kind of watching all that go through. And it's just as bad on social media. I mean, they'll post something else, and then there's like 500 comments from that tweet, and most of them are like, y'all are evil people. You should be giving Steve and them the money that they're owed. This, that, and the other. I will never buy anything again. Some even called out Chia, say stop producing the Bob Ross Chia Pets. Mm-hmm. I mean, calling them out, even tagging them on Twitter, saying you need to stop doing this. You need to stop trying to get them money. I mean, it was getting pretty bad.
I would believe that because the family, the people that were managing him, just did not look good in this documentary. And I'm not saying that they're totally evil people, but some of the stuff they did do was really questionable.
Really shitty.
They should have been kind of up on charges for some of the stuff they did. But we won't find out till much later time, I'm sure.
Yeah, sometime down the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I did want to point that out because I was curious because I was curious to see how the response was going to be because I knew it was going to be bad just from the article
trailer?
that I. Well. I mean, I posted the article on the Discord a while back, and then the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. The other documentary I watched, we may have discussed before. Thomas, you may have seen this. Batman and Bill. Have you seen that one?
I think I have.
I don't recall it, but that doesn't mean I hadn't seen it. I'm just not remembering it right now.
It's on Hulu. It's about Bill Finger
Mm-hmm.
and his family trying to get his name in the records as to co-creator of Batman.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a really well done documentary.
And so a lot of them have gone back to add him to films that are. I think Burton did.
Yeah.
I could understand that. Yeah.
Because what some fans don't realize that when Bob Kane created Batman, the image he had was a guy in a red suit.
Mm-hmm.
Red Union suit.
Red Union suit with black with a domino mask and then bats. That was his Batman. And here comes Bill Finger and it actually creates the costume that we're all aware of.
Wasn't he like the ghost artist for years on Batman?
Well,
everybody thought it was Kane, but it was really Finger who was doing all the work behind the scene and stuff.
Well, there were several artists that were doing it, and it just was credited to Kane.
Mm-hmm.
But the art was from Kane, and the writing was from Finger.
Ah, okay.
That's where he gets tied into it.
So I knew it was Something like that.
So that's what I took in this weekend.
Okay.
Some good ones.
I highly recommend it. It's a good documentary.
Well, I caught a documentary as well. I'm trying to remember if any one of y'all have mentioned it before. I don't think so, but there's an off chance that y'all may have. And it's titled AKA Tommy Chong. Have y'all seen this?
No.
This is chronicling the raid and his arrest in 2003 for trafficking illegal drug paraphernalia when he had the store for marijuana bongs.
Hmm.
And he spent 9 months in a federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the only one. There was I'm trying to remember how many raids had happened that day. And he was the only one who was actually arrested. And let me see, there was, okay, according to this, it was 100 homes and businesses raided that way. Indictments of 55 individuals, but he was the only one that actually went to prison.
Wow.
So
He's the only one of name.
Yep.
yeah,
Make
that's pretty
an
much it.
impact. Yep.
Yeah, this is definitely skewed toward Tommy, but it honestly, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because as they're telling the story, and of course the story begins with the creation of Cheech and Chong, and they go through all that, but as they're talking about how things went down with the raid and all that, one of his sons was handling the business and kept getting these phone calls from someone in Pennsylvania who was wanting to order just a bunch of stuff. And at that time, he was like, "Well, we can't deliver them to you because it's illegal in your state, so we can't do that." So they were already the family and the business were already aware of all their rights and what they need to do and what they need to avoid and all that. And it was a legit business. I mean, this was not underground. They actually had office space and a warehouse and that kind of stuff. It was a legit business.
Yeah.
So they kept getting calls from this one person from this one place, and so we can't do that. And the quote unquote shop owner kept saying, "Well, I have all my business license and this, that, and the other. Why can't you do it?" It's like, we can't ship it to you. So So what happened was the shopkeeper said, "Well, let me come to y'all and I'll buy all the stuff and then I'll just take it." We're like, "Fine, we don't have a problem with that. You come to us and you buy it and you transport it yourself. That's on you."
Yeah.
So they did, and I'm not sure where the breakdown was, but they showed up, bought a bunch of stuff, and then said, "Oh, we can't take this right now. We have to get back. Can y'all deliver it to us?" And somehow that's where everything went to hell, because someone said, "Okay, yeah, we'll deliver to you." That's where they got busted. I was like, that's fucking entrapment.
It is.
And they were and his lawyer was asked about, or someone asked Tommy about that. "Isn't that entrapment?" He's like, "Yeah, but I mean, this is the federal government. What the hell can he do?"
Yeah. It's their word against a pothead. Who's going to believe who?
Yeah. So, and then so he does the 9 months and then comes out and has to register as a narcotics offender, which I'm like, that he didn't sell any fucking drugs. It was just it was the bongs, and which is funny because there was like a little segment of people where they kind of just talk to people about the different ways they smoked marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And one person even said they even take out the guts of a flashlight and use it to smoke marijuana.
No.
So I'm like,
Coke can, apple.
yeah, it just
Yeah.
it
So
just
I've heard.
goes,
Of course.
yeah.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah.
So
But you have to also keep in mind when this happened to Chong, it wasn't times like today where you can have a prescription card and go buy and that kind of stuff. They've loosened up a lot. What he had was more of like a head shop.
yeah,
And if even in Texas, if you walk into a head shop and it's like, hey, sell me a bong, the correct answer is get the hell out of here, because a bong is what you use to smoke pot with, and they don't sell that. They sell a water pipe that you can smoke tobacco from. So if gas pipes around here are like dead serious with that. They're not afraid to tell you get out of here because they know what's on
Because
the
it's their
line.
ass if they don't, right?
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I know, Liz, and Mike knows this for a fact. Les does too. There's one just a few miles, just a couple of miles down from where I live.
Mm-hmm.
That's still open? Wow.
It's the last time I know. It's been a while since I've been in that direction, but yeah, as of a couple of years ago.
There used to be a tattoo apprentice, and by almost every tattoo shop is a gas pipe.
So,
And for our listeners, we're not going to post where that is. So
Google is your
Google
friend.
it, right.
Google, yeah.
Geez, it's not like we're hiding anything.
No. Well, and come September 1st, Texas has now declared medicinal use for marijuana, which I never in my lifetime thought I would see Texas do that. So,
Yeah. Well, that's how the documentary ends. It talks about the fact that there was legislation pushed to where it couldn't be made legal, and it talks about all that kind of stuff. So I mean, but it's
I'm
just
surprised you watched that.
What do you mean?
I just a pothead, and I didn't think you'd be interested in that.
Well, first of all, I forgot that he got arrested for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't go out of my way to watch Cheech and Chong films, but I've seen some of the stuff, and I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
It's but it just seeing boy, it really changed him because he is really like the government is out to get you.
Yeah.
He
Well,
has really come out that way.
You have to admit they did him dirty.
They kind of were out to get him, right?
So
Yeah, well, yeah, and I understand
and
it.
now his face is on the side of Kush. So.
And the thing is I did a little research of this, about this documentary and the whole situation about that. And in 2008, the person who was prosecuting him raided him again and stole and took a shit ton of these documentary DVDs, the DVDs of these documentaries. And you're like, what the hell are you trying to do? Are you trying to
Censor what goes out?
Yeah, because I mean, it makes her and John Ashcroft look very evil. That
Yep.
This was all to make them look good, to further their careers and that kind of stuff, and they were successful. So, and then this happens, and you just go, okay, yeah, well.
Okay, the thing to remember is that there have been people in the United States government basically witch hunting the whole marijuana scene since like the 1930s.
Right.
So none of this is new.
No.
Reefer Madness.
Yeah, I mean, it was in that time frame.
Mm-hmm. Which, like I said, coming from that, it's really nice to see where we're at today with that. They're starting to realize, hey, this can help cancer patients, or this can help people with PTSD, or this can help people with anxiety.
It's nowhere near dangerous as alcohol, but alcohol is okay to sell and all that. So
yeah. I have a friend who's an EMT, And he told me, he says, I would rather pull up outside of somebody's house who has been smoking than somebody who's been drinking and popping pills all night. It's like, yeah, true. But during the time when this became such a taboo thing, I hate to be, sound like Chong here, but at the time, it was a way for the government to control the people. A lot of them were smoking it. Let's make it illegal so we can do something about them marching on our steps and these protests and these hippies
that is mentioned a lot in this documentary. They talk about that. So yeah.
And I hate to say it, the black folk, that was the main push behind reefer madness. It makes them go crazy. It's like, no, it don't. I mean, if you go crazy, you were crazy before you smoked it.
See, but the thing you got to remember is when all of that really started, the idea of jazz music was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And
the
that's
devil
where
music,
a lot of it came from, right?
Their hips gyrate. And yep. Yeah.
So yeah.
So I'm glad to see that we're coming off our horse. I've seen the benefits, so.
Only 80 years too late, but anyway.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I'm not ruling out a resurgence, honestly, but whatever.
They tried to control with alcohol, too, and people rioted. I mean, that whole bootleg period, that was some crazy shit for what people did for alcohol. I think if they had had the same push from the hippies when they did that with weed, that they were putting flowers in guns, so.
And I saw that on Tubi, so if you're interested in checking that out, it's on that on
I'll have
Tubi's
to
website.
check that out.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really good. It was real interesting. All right, before we get into this week's discussion, it's already been mentioned a couple of times, but we do have a Discord that y'all are more than welcome to come join. We post news items, discussion items, fun stuff, videos, trailers, the upcoming shows or movies or something like that, and some fun activities as well. Discord is free to sign up. The app is free as well. If you're interested in joining us, you can go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. And right there on the homepage, there is invite. You just click on that little image, and you're in. And we'll be more than happy to have you join us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
It is.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Okay, so it's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight.
Is that how that song went?
That's how that song went.
Okay.
Yes, we are talking about the Muppet Show. It's celebrating its 45th anniversary. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 45th.
Math, sure.
Math.
Yeah.
Math is your friend.
Must be 45.
Okay. So we just want to take some time to kind of look back to the show, and kind of just our thoughts of the show and our memories of the show. If some of us have seen it, or some of us may not have, So, what I didn't realize that there was actually two pilots. There was a pilot back in 74 and 75, and so they actually tried to do it earlier, and was not successful. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I thought it was pretty cool that Jim Henson credits the Jimmy Dean Show for his big break. And kind of going into the Bob Ross thing, Jim Henson offered him 40% of this whole Muppet thing since he believed in him and stuff. And he was like, no, you deserve all of the credit and everything you get from this. I'm just glad to be a part of it, which the way it should have been, So
Jimmy Dean is a good guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said he never regretted doing it, you know. He could have made a lot of money. 40%. This
That's
was
a
before.
lot of sausages.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dean did all right for himself. I mean,
Oh, yeah. For sure. But this was before Sesame Street and the Muppets really got up and off, you know. And the one constant guy has always been our little green fellow.
The tea sipper.
Yeah, the tea sipper. That's what everybody knows about.
yeah, well, when 900 years old you are, look this good, you will not.
Mm-hmm.
Another green guy. Woo!
Mm.
The first movie I ever saw in a movie theater was the Muppets Great Caper.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So that started my whole
Yeah, so you're biased then.
movie
Jeez.
and Muppet love. Yeah, I grew up when they were really taking off. I'm proud to say that because of the work I hate to I know we're talking about the Muppets, but Sesame Street was such a big branch off of the Muppets and is still today teaching children with the use of puppets or I should say Muppets, because originally that was not the route that Sesame Street was going to go until they saw Jim Henson do his Muppet work. That's when they were like, hey, maybe we can incorporate, some little segments with some Muppets and that kind of thing. And it just took off. And of course, if you've seen any of Sesame Street today, the Muppets are
It's all Muppets all the time.
90%. Yeah, So, and most people forget that Kermit was actually a Sesame Street guy for quite a few years. I'm not sure why, but Henson finally made the choice to separate him from Sesame Street to just do Muppet work. I don't know if that's part of the agreement when I know he's had backers, from different areas, because originally his Muppets were just for advertising and skits, and it wasn't really supposed to be what he did with it later on, which of course was nothing short of amazing.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. And I honestly, I feel sorry for the newer generation, because as much as we have tried to capture the magic of the Muppet Show, they will never experience what we did. I remember, I can't remember if it was Wednesdays or Thursday nights when it came on. It was a big to-do, Everybody sat down with their little TV dinner and we watched, the Muppets. It was during primetime broadcast, And
who's going to be the guest star that week?
Yeah. And like I said, it seems like every reboot or revamp or whatever they've tried to do after that just really hasn't gotten there. And I honestly think the whole, this last try that they did wasn't as bad. I mean, it was still pretty bad. They're mincing Henson. He put his heart and soul, and hell, even voiced half of these things himself, and we will never have someone like him again, ever. He made them. He gave each character a soul, It wasn't just a Muppet talking to you on the screen. That was Kermit, or that was Piggy. You felt that connection, that, you forget that there was someone with their hand up their ass. It was... It was magic,
We just came up with the title, folks.
I know they've done a lot of cartoons and stuff since then. My grandbaby actually is a really, really big Muppet Babies fan that Disney has done. I would have to say that is probably the closest thing that has that charm and magic that the Muppet Show used to. So that they have done, it is animated, but they have, I don't know, there's just something about it that the other cartoons just didn't do. So they're getting there. Maybe they can tap that off into the series again. I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope for that.
Are you
Especially
talking about a new Muppet Babies series?
Uh-huh.
Or are you talking about the original one?
It's a new one that Disney has.
Okay.
I think there's 7. It's not real new. There's 7 seasons, I believe, now. And like this season, they just gave Fozzie a sister, and her name is
Fizzy?
It's something like Mozzie, or it's some kind of Aussie name too. And she's a little.
Fizzy would work better, but who do I know? What do I know?
But she's
very bubbly personality.
That's right.
She's an adopted character, and it was kind of neat the way they introduced her and, talked about a sibling maybe being adopted or in a blended family. So they tackle some really big issues in a really cute kid, easy to digest. Yeah. And to me, it's almost like Sesame Street, kind of helping kids with everyday problems. It's not, this fantasy. I mean, there is a lot of fantasy, but it's more of them using their imagination. And that's what we want our kids to do today is imagination, which Muppets have always encouraged, Yeah, this was definitely a big part of my childhood.
Okay.
Jeez, well, there goes my script. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I have vague memories of the Muppet Show. I mean, and I've seen stuff since, like the movies and that. And I don't have Disney Plus, so I can't just go watch the Muppet Show again. It might be interesting too. Because I remember it being, I remember it not being quite so kid-centric as Sesame Street.
Yes.
So, might still be entertaining. Who knows? It might be weirdly out of time because it was, like I said, 40, 45 years ago. But it was definitely a good time when I remember watching them. How they ended up appearing on American TV was kind of weird at the time too, but that might honestly be an almost syndication type deal because the show was made in England, which I did not know at the time. I didn't know that until very recently. But
wasn't it cheaper to produce over there?
I don't know about cheaper to produce. I don't know the backstory behind it. I just know it aired in England before it came over here.
There was a show that he did. I can't remember, but it was kind of like a behind the scenes of the Muppets, where he took you and showed you. I may have posted this on Discord a long time back because we were talking about CGI. How just a short 30-second clip would take them like 16 days to defrag and program and, But he was showing, during this series, he was, talking to the little dog and they like teleported to the British, where they kept all the costumes and stuff like that. But he couldn't bring the little dog over. So it was like another dog. Because and then he said something about
those damn Yanks.
Well, something about the taxes and stuff to bring him over, and that's why some of it was shot over here. But this was more elaborate of like the labyrinth work and that kind of stuff that he did later on, not necessarily the Muppets, but. I babbled all of that to say it would make sense because they do have a studio over there. Probably their original footings with it, you know.
Well, and like I said, it's been a long time since I saw any of this, but I remember seeing something like that I was thinking it was actually part of the series. It was like they just took an episode to like show everybody how everything worked, or something to that. Maybe it was the Sesame Street or something. I don't know, but
it was like a. Let me pull up his Wikipedia because it was like a special thing that it was a TV series, but it wasn't like the Muppets. It was like or it was the Jim Henson Hour. That's what it was on.
Okay.
So it kind of was, but
that was later than the series itself, than the original.
Yeah,
much later.
Yeah.
That was in '89.
Yeah. So, yeah,
And
I remember it being interesting, even at the time.
And I guess with watching some of the Muppets for this, this episode, Google pulled up today different stories, but this one was talking about Frank Oz, which, of course, most people who know Frank Oz, he was the right hand of Henson. He even had a hand in the puppets and things like that.
Literally.
But, yeah, literally. And see, and that's another thing. The way they played off of each other, there was such a genuine friendship and chemistry there that made it enjoyable to watch. Even unscripted stuff, the way that they could, go off each other. But he said that Disney...
One of America's favorite romantic couples. Because Frank Oz was the voice of Miss Piggy.
Yep.
Yeah. He had said that Disney no longer wants him, which is sad. Like you guys said, he was Miss Piggy, he was Fozzie Bear, he was Bert, and he was also Grover. So it was kind of like, why would you not want the original man, the closest thing we have to Henson now? Why would you not want him?
Not to be too cynical, but the first thing I can think of is they probably can't afford him.
Yeah.
Well, and he said he doesn't like to follow orders.
He became a director after he'd left all of that stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
So, yeah.
And he says they won't do the kind of Muppets that he believes in. So because, So I could see that. I don't want to see you bastardize my friend's creation, so,
So I'm walking away, and
and
everything's cool.
Gracefully.
Right. Everything's cool,
Yeah.
but I'm out.
We're good.
I'm going to go do Star Wars for the rest of my life.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of good things to say about Disney.
Strangely enough, a lot of people have not a lot of good things to say about Disney, but...
Yeah, especially now.
Well...
Really?
Yeah.
Les, your thoughts?
The first Muppet I saw was on Johnny Carson. It was Kermit. And it was just him sitting, and the song Inchworm was playing.
Mm-hmm.
And as Inchworm was playing, a finger, an inchworm, actually, would work its way across the little stage they had there. And Kermit would reach over, grab it, and eat it. And this went on for 3 times. The 4th time they were playing Inchworm, all of a sudden, the rest of the spider came out and started after him. That was the first skit I had seen them. The reference you made earlier of Jimmy Dean was a skit they had weekly. Dean's show was, I think, a half hour long. If it was an hour, that's possible too. But he would have a skit every week with Rolf, Rolf the dog, who was the piano player, and he would do a piano session with Dean, and they would sing, but there was a little comedy wrapped in there also. It was much later that, of course, the Muppet Show showed up, because the Jimmy Dean Show was in the mid-'60s, I'm going to say. About the same time as Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. So in that time frame, it was still black and white, and Rolf was the first known character, known by name. Yes, they had the pilots, which didn't go over too well, but they were enjoyable for somebody like me, and I was in my teens, so that was okay. The Muppet Show itself, let's see, the first guest was Joel Grey, who was big time then because of what was the movie that he was in? Do you guys remember?
Cabaret?
Yes, thank you. Cabaret. Their last guest was Shirley Bassey, who was the singer of Goldfinger. And that was 5 years later? 6 years? Something like that. They ran the gamut. They had comedians, they had singers, they had dancers, to try to fit Juliet Prowse into the Muppet Show was truly amazing. Musicians, it was just so much fun to sit down.
Show.
I'm sorry?
It was a variety show.
A variety show, and it was only a half hour long.
Mm-hmm.
Your star attraction got to usually do one song. They may do a song with somebody else, or one of the Muppets, but it was quick. It was fast-paced. It was just so well written. Everything moved, and it was funny from skit to skit. You learned of characters that you would never have heard of before. The pigs in space, or the Swedish chef, who is still my favorite.
Yeah.
Statler and Waldorf, who opened the show, who ended the show, and just were that funny. They were my favorite old codgers.
Well, they're in the cartoon I was telling you about. They're the next door neighbors.
Cool.
Oh, God.
It's cute because they're always giving their little input on whatever the kids are doing in the backyard,
That's awesome.
It was just fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see it return successfully. I don't know that will happen. And I'm not saying because Henson is no longer around, but it was so good to sit down with the family. And I'm what, out of college by then? 70, well, what year was it?
76 is when the series came out.
76. Yeah. So I was out of college, and by then I had to get to train little brother about cartoons and things like that. So this was phenomenal stuff. They even had Big Bird on once, which was a big surprise. to have him there with the Muppets. But kudos. It's great fun.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of jump on something you just mentioned. You talked about bringing something like that back. I thinking that it wouldn't, just because I don't think it would come back. I mean, what you say about Henson, of course, no longer being here, that may play a factor, but the whole variety show, that kind of format is just been long since dead.
True.
Yeah.
It would be great if they would try something like that, because it's so different now. It's so different than what's being on TV today or streaming services. I think it would do well just on the novelty of it being different and it being the Muppets. I think, and you talk about all the guest stars and all that. Don't you think they would jump at the chance of doing that? A lot of today's musicians and actors and comedians and all that, they grew up with watching the show. To have a chance to do a skit with Kermit and Miss Piggy and Fozzie and all of them, I think they would go insane. Go, yeah. Where do you want me to be, and I'll be there.
Yeah.
I think it would work if someone would actually give it the chance. But what do I know?
Well, and as far as guests go, a few years back, PBS had problems with funding. I won't go into why they had problems, but they needed people to step up to take care of, children's programming, because we all know they've cut it off of regular TV. There is no more Saturday educational block. But HBO actually stepped up and said, yeah, we'll take over Sesame Street. Well, since HBO has taken over Sesame Street, some of the guest stars that they have, we're talking like Ed Sheeran, John Legend has been on there, Katy Perry. They've had some really big names on the show, but they're starting to parody like Sons of Anarchy and Harry Potter and Jurassic Park. So they've really stepped out of their Sesame Street, look both ways before you cross the street kind of thing, into something that me as a caretaker, it's easy to sit down and watch that. I'm laughing my ass off because I know the Sons of Anarchy scene they're parodying. And, she's none the wiser. It's just Muppets on a bike, So Sesame Street has done good to capture what the Muppets used to have as far as that goes. But the last Muppet show that they did, they tried to tap too much into Facebook, and, Piggy had her own podcast on like a YouTube kind of thing. And it was just kind of... people who know the Muppets and love the Muppets, it just wasn't something that was,
I can kind of understand why they would do that, though. I mean, you talk about Piggy having a podcast. I mean, can you think of a bigger attention whore?
Yeah, true.
Other than us?
Other than us, right. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Just, to me, the last one seemed forced. It wasn't as funny. I always compare things to Shrek, how the kids can absolutely adore it, but the parents can watch it and get something totally different than what that kid's, it's kind of on both levels, And to me, the old Muppet Show, that's kind of the way it was. It was both levels, You had something the kids could laugh at, but the parents were like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that, So the new Muppets didn't really, it's like we're going for this target audience and that's it. Nobody else is going to understand this outside of that. And hey, that's great. But what made the Muppets amazing was it was all ages. Everybody was included, If you didn't like the guest star this week, wait till next week, and hell, John Cleese was on there right after Alice Cooper. So they didn't really have a set from this generation to this year. It was just whoever was popular at the time, whoever was making big waves at the time, they came on the show and they were a guest star, So it wasn't a theme they were keeping with, this week it'll be an actor, next week maybe music. This week it'll be country, next week it'll be acid rock. It was everywhere to where no matter who you were, they had someone on there that you would like, The new Muppets, like I said, didn't really seem to go that route. And I think if they continued, they'd have people like Jeffree Star and James Charles and just the whole YouTube yuck on there. That would be their guest stars.
The whole YouTube yuck.
The whole YouTube yuck. Yeah, there's a whole yuck end to YouTube. The drama.
Of course there is.
Yep.
Or whoever's popular on TikTok.
Yeah. Charlie DeMilo or whoever.
Yeah, you can even pull one name out of that list. I can't. I have no idea.
Yeah, better than me. Yep.
Well, just because they cross over with some of the YouTube people I watch sometimes.
Sorry.
Well, I like makeup. And there's like a whole makeup community that's nothing but drama. So, and honestly, I it's kind of interesting,
We'll just take your word for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could tell you things that make your eyes curl without mascara.
Ow.
Yeah, because some of it's pretty bad, But yeah, I think they were onto something, and I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see that at that height again. As much as I would love to see that. I think the best we'll do is with that, like I said, the animation. The animation seems to be hitting it, but keep in mind, though, it is at a target audience. It is a younger kid audience, but I kind of love that Leanne's growing up with some of the same familiar Muppets,
Well, and it's sad that they've kind of lost track of what, you used the phrase all ages, and we'll get into that in a few weeks here, but it seems sad to me that they've managed to lose what that really can mean. The possibilities there are much more than most of them seem to want to admit. A lot of people think of all ages and you just think of kids, and well, that's not what all ages means, You got to appeal to multiple audiences, and that's not an easy thing to do, granted, but
yeah.
It's certainly worth the effort.
And it seemed like with the Muppets, if they couldn't get your age with a skit, that's when they brought in that guest star. And usually that would be hitting that, But I loved that they didn't really discriminate against any certain, Like I said, I was surprised when Alice Cooper showed up on Muppets. I really was. But it was kind of cool that they were able. Now, remember, Alice Cooper, not Alice Cooper today. This is Alice Cooper in the 70s. It's on a Muppet show.
Well, he also had a comic book,
He was
too.
a big hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Alice Cooper was successful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They certainly were. To an extent, the Alice Cooper phenomenon, because it's not like it was just one person. There was more to it than that.
Yeah.
They did an interesting job of kind of crossing over that teenage rebellion concept, and they kind of almost made that accessible to a wider audience, which is a hell of a feat, really, if you think about it. So that's almost perfect an almost perfect fit for the Muppet Show if you think about it. Because it's, again, that all ages concept that we're going to appeal to as wide a group as we can here.
Yeah. And they were, that, like I said, every week it was something totally different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And had some really great, actors and singers and a little bit of everything on there.
Mm-hmm. A lot of what was popular and a lot of stuff that maybe got a little more popular because of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things about a variety show that we just completely lost track of anymore.
And with the Muppets, as much as their skits were going on, it was always more interesting what was happening backstage. That was over half the show, yeah. Yep. And that's really where you got to meet a little bit more of your guest star than the skit they were doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep, they were pretty clever with the writing in that regard.
And it was pretty cool, that thing I was telling you about where he was showing behind the scenes. He showed behind the scenes of the Muppet Show there, like where like the control board and everything else was for, what was his name? Gomer? Was it Gomer? He was the twin. I can't remember, but he was a twin. He was one of the others, producers other than Kermit. But he was like, okay, now show him, and he'd make the whole thing just a race and show you what the puppets are dealing, what the actors are dealing with and stuff. And then he'd make it go back, and at the very end of the show, he finally panned back and showed everybody the people that were under the puppets. And it was cute because the puppets were like, no, he's not going to do it. Tell us he's not going to do it. But it's really amazing. As a kid, I didn't think about it. I was pretty young when this came out. You didn't think about all the work that went behind there. So when he actually pulled the curtain back and let you see, it was just, I think that's when I really got really interested in animation and how that worked and models and things.
And I hope, and I actually kind of tend to believe that was the point.
Yeah.
Was that he was trying to get people interested in the process.
Yeah.
He was sharing his love of the process and hopefully inspiring somebody along the way.
And the work that he did, people who do puppets today will always have to do or use something that he came up with to make that job easier. He just took them so far, with some of the tricks and little gadgets and things that he did, people hadn't even thought about doing. It's a puppet. What do you mean you're going to make its eyes close? It's a puppet, and he did it, You need to work 3 puppets in one scene and you've only got 1 man? Let me show you how we do this.
Right. There's got to be a way. Let's figure it out.
Yep. One of the greatest scenes that he did with the Muppets was the bicycle scene. I think it was also in The Great Caper where they're all riding bikes in the park. He's got like 20 Muppets on bikes. That was insane. You never heard of that before. Legs moving on pedals. They're all riding together. I mean, amazing. I don't know how I've seen the work behind the scenes, and I still don't know how he made that work. Without seeing rope or something, And it's cool because he had kids on tricycles pulling this, thing that he had all these puppets on. And one of the kids on the bike was actually his son. So his son is in the Muppet movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, yeah, I'll have to find that again. Because like I said, I think that was probably the best episode he did. Because he showed you so much behind the scene. it was different than his normal little skit show that he did normally. So, and if I find that, that'll be on Discord, and you'll have to come over there and check it out.
What a tease.
Yep. Any other thoughts you would like to share with the class?
If you've got Disney Plus, I think that they're showing. They have.
Are they on there,
right?
Liz?
They do. They have. Let's see. I was just looking at that. They do have all 5 seasons of the Muppet Show.
There you go.
They also have the new one, Muppets Now. They have all. No, they just have the newest version of Muppet Babies, but they do have all of their movies over there too.
There you go. It's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Go check it out. And on that note, we are going to take a quick break and be back with our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for weekly picks, and leading off is Les.
Thank you, sir. My first pick is Wrong Earth, Night and Day from Ahoy Comics. This is an interesting position to put characters in, because you have, say, one of the characters is a criminal, and he also is a sleuth that works with the police. And in this, it's 2 alternate versions of the same person. And in this story, they meet for the first time. This is the second volume of the series, The Wrong Earth. So if you can track the first one, it will be a lot easier to find what's going on in the second one. But if I recall, Thomas, we were reading this at the comic shop several years ago, or the first series, and it was a fun way to look into it. So I'm interested in this, and I'm hoping that our listeners are also.
Sounds good.
Yeah, this was a fun read. I mean, it's literally like the Dark Knight versus the Adam West Batman. That's basically the closest kind of comparison. The first story arc was great, and then, like you said, in this one, they actually meet for the first time in this story arc. So yeah, definitely pick this one up. It's been a great read.
Cool.
Alrighty, Liz, you are next.
Okay, my first pick is actually a trade from DC, and it's called Basket Full of Heads. I think we talked about this one quite a bit when it was out. Like I said, this is the trade. This will follow June and her boyfriend Liam. Liam is actually kidnapped by a group of escaped convicts, and they know that she's there on this island with them, and they're trying to find her. So, of course, June's got to protect herself, and the only thing she can find to protect herself, which is actually a pretty cool weapon, it's a Viking axe, which has the capability of chopping people's heads off. Now, yes, all axes have that capability if you use them right. You know, I wasn't called Lizzie Borden for a while for nothing, but this axe actually
because she drank a lot of milk. That's why she was called
that's
that.
it. Yeah, that's it. This one has the, not only will it decapitate them, it will leave the head talking. So she can kill them and still get information from the head of whoever she killed. So hence, not only does she have one head, she has a basket full of heads. This one's wrote by Joe Hill, who
Makes a lot more sense now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, this was what he did in between the two Lock and Keys that he did. So it's really good. And of course, once again, if you guys don't know Joe Hill, he's the son of Stephen King, and his writing has really tapped into what his father has given us for years, but in such a different way that it's hard to compare the two other than their father and son, you know. Both write horror, but in different ways, if that makes sense. So this one was definitely a good one. If you're a fan of his Lock and Key series, this kind of tapped into that same whodunit thriller, you know, what's going to happen next kind of thing. So definitely pick this one up.
Neat.
Yeah, this was on my list too. I thoroughly think that this will be a good read.
Mm-hmm. And you know, actually 7-issue miniseries, and it's $17.99, which is actually not bad for a trade.
Yeah, that's a thick trade for that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Alrighty, Mikey, you're up.
Okie dokie. So my first pick is from Dark Horse, and I'm picking Last Flight Out, number 1. This is the story of an Earth which humanity is having to abandon, moving into the stars to escape the fact that it's not becoming uninhabitable. And the last ship is getting ready to leave, and the daughter of one of the people on board goes missing. So he's got to come to terms with the fact that he and his daughter don't have a great relationship, and he's got to figure out how to find her before the last ship leaves the planet forever.
Cool.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Alrighty, I am next, and for my first choice is from Smart Pop, and it's entitled Star Trek Starfleet Is. And this is from Rob Perlman, and what he's doing is kind of celebrating Gene Roddenberry's vision of Star Trek and what Starfleet represents. And through this and through the different characters that make up Star Trek, talk about the best of Starfleet, the compassion, the adventure, how inclusive it can be, and it just sounds like it's such a great little book to not only celebrate Gene Roddenberry, but the fans who keep that vision going 55 years later. So this should be a kind of a fun book to enjoy, especially if you're a Star Trek fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Les, you're up again.
Okay, my second choice comes from Scout Comics. It's called Impossible Jones, number 1. Imagine a thief who gets powers, but is mistaken for a superhero. She decides that she will put on the charade that she is a superhero, but she's not giving up her criminal ways. So she's got a lot of moxie to pull this off, and I'm looking for this for 2 things. One, to me, it's an intriguing idea. And second, it is written by Carl Kessel, who has written things like Harley Quinn in the past. So I'm tuned in on this one for sure.
That
Cool.
definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, and Carl Kessel. Oh God, what was the recent book he wrote with on Image? But also wrote the Superboy series during the '90s. The Connor run. So yeah. Yeah, this was on my list as well. So yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
Yeah.
All right, Liz.
All right. My second pick is actually from Dark Horse Comics, and it's called The Unbelievable Unteens. I don't know if maybe I missed the first one of this, or maybe one of you guys picked the first one for this, but it sounds really neat. In the first issue, she's a comic book writer, and she's at a Comic-Con. And one of the characters from her comic book actually comes and's like, hey, we need to talk. You know, there's something really weird going on. And in the second book now, which is this one, we're finding out that the characters in her comic book are actually not so fictional. They're real people. And something has happened to where all of their memories have been wiped, and they don't understand why or who did it. So it's pretty interesting, because now Jane's got to come to the realization, oh my God, these people I've been writing comic books about are actually my memories of being in a team with these people, and we had a life together, and we fought crime together and stuff. So it's pretty interesting. Like I said, I guess I missed the first one. I will definitely pick that one up. This is by Jeff Lemire, who, oh my goodness, I think we've talked about him so much from Sweet Tooth that Netflix just did. So if you haven't read any of his work, which I think everybody's at least seen a Black Hammer comic, right?
At least.
Right. You have to know who he is. But if you don't, this would definitely be a little taste of pretty much what he's known for, just a little bit of mindfuckery. So definitely pick this one up. I honestly, I don't know if this is going to be an ongoing or if he's doing this as a short mini-series. Everything I've looked at is kind of not alluding one way or the other. So good luck with that.
So be sure to go get it.
Right.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
All righty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. My second pick is from Fantagraphics, and this is a graphic novel entitled Motorhead, The Rise of the Loudest Band in the World. Yep, that's right. Lemmy finally gets his own comic. And who the hell doesn't want that? I mean, come on.
Right.
But yeah, this is basically biographical, and so it kind of tells the story of kind of where Lemmy came from, and the rise of the creation and rise of the band, and that sort of thing. Which it's actually, I've seen some documentaries on the band, and it's an interesting story. Lemmy is an interesting character, to say the least, so definitely worth checking out.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Alrighty, for my second choice, this is from Holiday House, and it's a graphic novel titled Cracking Me Up. And this is the story of Izzy, who takes her pet to the county fair to make her public debut. And yes, it's an actual kraken. So while everybody is so fearful, we find out that her pet is actually sweet and shy, just like Izzy. So it's kind of story of them trying to win the people over using their unique creativity and humor. So it's a cute little book. I mean, come on, a kraken as a pet.
That would be cute.
Yeah, why not?
Just so you could say, release the kraken.
You've been sitting here all night, haven't you?
Okay, Sydney.
Saving that one up.
Okay, Sydney, you need to stop that.
Aye. Yeah, no, sounds like fun.
It does.
Yeah.
All right. Any special shout-outs this week or mentions?
Don't think so.
No.
All right.
Just be sure to join us on the yes.
Discord?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What a great idea.
Yeah. Alrighty. We'll go ahead and move on to our regular shout-outs. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. We recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Podern Family on Twitter, who've been so kind enough as to spread the word of fellowship, retweeting our links. The best way to be able to see what's out there is do a search, hashtag Podern Family, all one word, and just scroll through whatever catches your eye. Please, please, please click that link, download that episode, and I hope you have a good time listening to them. Thank you guys for your support as always. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In the show notes, there will be a link to where you can check out their fine music. Thank you guys. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. There are several ways you can do that. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website and go to the About Us page, and there is a contact form that you can fill out there. We've already mentioned the Discord a couple of times. Join there. There is a specific channel for feedback, or if you just want to send us a message, that'll be fine as well. On social media, we are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks, and obviously we're on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us. If you'd like to follow our personal Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek. Les may or may not be found @FakeLesWebster. And I could be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review us, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
We do appreciate you listening. Until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,